My name's Carl Anthony Redus, Jr. I attended Merrill High School from 1961 through May of 1967.
My name is Tommie B. Davis, Jr., and I attended Merrill High School from the fall of 1964 until May of 1967.
Well, Merrill High School was the one and only high school located in the South at one time. Not when I was there, but during the time period when Merrill first got started. As a matter of fact, it was quite interesting. We met a gentleman who was Ambassador Perkins for the United States that attended Merrill High School when he was basically a kid living in Louisiana. That was quite interesting. He came to school at Merrill because Merrill was one of the better high schools in the South at that time. And he moved up with a relative in order that he could attend Merrill High School.
I transferred in from a school across town to Merrill in 1964. The school that I transferred from was also a really great school, Coleman High School. But most of my friends that I hung out with and played sports with on the sandlots, they were all Merrill students. So after one summer, I decided to come to Merrill in that fall. And it's really interesting because Carl Redus was a guy that I had known from actually competing with in various sports. And I knew him. He was a tremendous athlete. I had no idea that at some point that we would be teammates, but that turned out to be a really great situation for me. And not going to elementary school with these guys, when I came to Merrill, I found that there were some really great kids here. And the faculty and staff was outstanding. They prepared us for what eventually we would have to face in the real world. That's right. But they did a great job. Mr. M.D. Jordan was a principal. Mm-hmm. He was a tough guy, but he was very compassionate too in regard to if we kind of stepped wrong, he was there to straighten us back out.
Put us back in line.
That's right. I heard my name over the intercom many mornings about come to the, do not let him, Davis in class until he get checked out to the office. But no, the teachers was outstanding. And one teacher in particular was Mrs. Doris Edwards, English teacher. And she really helped me and worked with me. And Mrs. Irma K. Hill, a math teacher. But it wasn't hardly any of the classes that you took that the teachers didn't take some real special care with you.
Yeah, all the teachers were dedicated to their profession. That was one thing that was understood when you got to Merrill. The teachers were dedicated. You put forth the best efforts that you could put forth in learning and following their instructions and things of that nature. Merrill had a football team, basketball team, and track as well. But we played sports competitively against each other when we were coming up with various neighborhoods. Tommie lived on the west side and I lived on the north side. So there were teams in both areas of the community, as well as the east side. Well, Pine Bluff was a community that at the particular point in time had 4 high schools, 4 black high schools, which was a little unusual, but due to the fact that we had kids in 4 parts of the neighborhood, it turned out to be segregated schools because of the fact that they didn't want, at that particular point in time, didn't want us integrating or trying to integrate the Pine Bluff High School. Tell me, wasn't there 3 white high schools?
The districts?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But we had 4. No, they had Dalloway, Pine Bluff High, as well as Watson County.
Chapel.
Yeah.
It was 3.
Mm-hmm. And we had 4 though, didn't we?
Yeah, we had 4 schools, but we were under the Pine Bluff district.
No, not all of them.
No, I'm just talking about Merrill.
Yeah, Merrill.
Merrill was under the Pine Bluff district. Coleman was Chapel, and Townsend Park was Dollaway.
And Southeast was under the Pine Bluff School.
Right.
That's right.
Right. I would attend games over here because they had a stadium, they had lights on their field. And so when I came to Merrill, I came basically as a student athlete. But then when I got here, I really discovered something else that was just absolutely incredible. And that was the camaraderie between the students. People was just so supportive, and we had a lot of activities other than just sports, but football and track were my sports. I was a quarterback over here, football team. Brother Redus was one of the receivers, and he was a very good player. Carl and some of my other teammates, or friends actually, we took a little different pathway out of high school because I went out and started prosecuting the war right out of high school. And I went into the military, and Carl and some of the other guys went on to school. And I went to school later on after those guys had finished and left. But the thing that's so amazing about the friendships that we made here at Merrill, we have relationships with guys on a daily basis currently, just like we did in high school. Isn't that right, Carl?
That's right. Not only guys, but we have a relationship with our female classmates as well.
Right.
We continue to develop that relationship throughout our lives.
You know, when Carl first came back to Pine Bluff from Atlanta, and we would talk every day from about 8 o'clock to about noon. And then when he expressed some interest in politics, it seemed as though the whole school, the ones that were remaining here, got behind his candidacy. Right. And we were able to get him over the finish line. Matter of fact, the campaign was referred to affectionately as the Merrill Mafia.
It wasn't necessarily scary at that time from a point of view, but we were aware of the fact, but just like this school, allegedly, it was burned down. They never did do an investigation to determine what happened with the building. But most people knew at that particular point in time that the school had been unoccupied and empty for quite some time. And just to come up and catch a fire when the utilities and things like that weren't on, it's kind of unusual. So, we knew that this building was a momentum to people that went to school here and lived in Pine Bluff. Because everybody had someone to go to Merrill High School if you lived in Pine Bluff or if you moved to Pine Bluff. Because I can't recall how old the school is, but it was founded way back early in our history. So, Merrill touched a lot of people's hearts in this community and throughout the Southeast. There wasn't many black schools throughout the South that was primarily developed and built for African Americans. Yeah, but this school was. People from Merrill High School all had an identity with each other because we did attend Merrill High School. And that was in itself a tremendous opportunity for people. And it's a way we identified with each other. When I was a kid, I had to newspapers and sold newspapers throughout the community. That was the way we communicated with each other, newspapers back then. Like today, it's very seldom people read the newspaper, but Pine Bluff was a fortunate community to have a newspaper, and people always wanted their newspaper. So I had a lot of customers throughout the whole community. And matter of fact, I think Tommie even took the paper at one time.
Yeah, I think maybe we got the Sunday edition.
Right. The Sunday edition, okay. That's where the funnies were.
All right.
Yeah. But, you know, it was just the relationship that you develop by being a newspaper carrier or salesperson for the newspaper, Pine Bluff Commercial. You know, you knew people all over town. I primarily sold the newspapers from like the downtown area. When I went to get my papers, one of the things I would do is go down where everybody sort of hung out at 3rd and State Street, 4th and State, in that area. And those people would buy a newspaper. And then I would come out and take care of my route, which is on the north side of town, from the university area all the way back over to probably like 6th Street. That was a lot of the Black community, west side, north side, and then some people up on the east side. But when you communicated with those people, you know, you have a tendency to be recognized by being as the paper boy. So a lot of people always call me the paper boy. You know,
He was politicking then. He was politicking then because he...
Not really politicking. I was selling paper. I got a little change in my pocket.
You know, over here, there was something that was a common thread, though, near Merrill High School that people could identify with from all of the different schools in Pine Bluff, and that was the branch library.
Oh, yeah.
It was located across the street. And anyway, it was a small building, had a limited supply of books, but they had something that I knew I could get a report out of. That was a set of botanical encyclopedias.
That's right.
You know, the computers and the phones and all that stuff wasn't available. But you would meet kids from other schools, even from across the river, all-timer. Kids come into the library on the weekend, or then you would get to know people. But one of the things that I can truly say is that the mentorship that came from our coaches, they did a lot of double duty. They served as mentors and role models for us, as well as coaches. Coach Urban Phillips, Coach Roosevelt West, Coach Ernest Dunlap, Coach Volley Dyer, Coach Robert Carr. Those guys, they were wonderful individuals and made sure that we did the right thing, regardless as to you know, what we did on the football field. They made sure we went to class, and they made sure we stayed in our lanes when it came down to being good individuals.
And they provided us with male leadership and direction. That was one of the good things about the fact that, you know, if you were an athlete, you had an opportunity to see successful men that normally had gotten a college degree and came back to the teaching profession. And they spend time with us not only from an athletic perspective, but spend time with us from developing us into young men.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One guy that I didn't mention that is still around and still providing that to a lot of young men, a gentleman named Coach Charles Bruce.
Oh, yeah.
A really dedicated gentleman and that loves Merrill and loves Pine Bluff as well. The legacy of Merrill High School, you can go just about any state in America, and someone's going to know about Pine Bluff, Arkansas, at Merrill High School, and some of the other high schools as well. But what I will say is that my profession was in public safety. And when I was going to school here at Merrill, there wasn't any black firefighters in this whole city of Pine Bluff, and that was my profession. And we've had some wonderful guys from Merrill as other schools in Pine Bluff, but Merrill in and of itself is a school that was arguably one of the best decisions I ever made in my life.
I attended Carmel Elementary School, which is located right behind Merrill High School. I started out initially attending Townsend Park Elementary School because they redrew the district. And I lived on the side that should have been attending the Pine Bluff School District. And my parents at that particular point in time knew teachers over at the Townsend Elementary School. So they sent me over there because we were living on Watson Boulevard. And we moved over to Saracen Street, which was basically in the Pine Bluff School District. So they took me out of school one day and sent me back home because I was in the wrong school district. And keep in mind, I'm in the second grade, and I wanted to stay with my friends, people that I knew. And so I just didn't want to attend school in the Merrill district or the Carmel Elementary School district. But once I got in there and got comfortable with everybody and realized that everybody in my neighborhood pretty much were attending, it worked out fine for me. So, and I developed, 5 years at Carmel Elementary School. Then came to Merrill for 6 years, Merrill Junior High and Merrill High School. And I developed lifelong friends, both districts, but I really have kept in touch with most of my friends and from Merrill High School, and will always stay in touch with them. It's interesting that we were developing a list of our class. We had 128 graduates from Merrill High School in our senior class. And we were developing a list of how many had transitioned for a classmate, Tommie, Eddie Daniels, and myself. And we found out that there were about 50 plus students that had transitioned. And so we decided that we would try and find out if there were others. And there were a few others, but other classmates who would tell us about, they lived all over the nation. And we were not aware of some of them being gone at this particular point in time. But once we found out, we updated the list and included them because nobody wanted to leave anybody out. We were just like the military, nobody's left behind. We continue to always look at it from that perspective. And we had friends also in classes before us and the classes behind us. Matter of fact, we looked up to classes that were before us.
Definitely.
Because a lot of those students were very successful. And that's one of the things that we recognize that Mr. Jordan and his staff and his faculty would do. They would invite students back to come and speak to us, after they've either gone to college, gone into a profession, or did whatever they were doing in life. And they were successful in doing it and enjoyed doing what they were doing. So that was motivating to all of us. We learned the fact that, whatever your profession you're in, a trade you might be in, do it well and do it to the point that you are successful also. So that's part of the history of Merrill High School.
When I came to Merrill in 1964, I remember I was walking in front of the old band room. That's where everybody hung out at if you wanted to smoke or something like that. But anyway, I was walking through there. I was a new student, and I remember a couple of guys, and I remember their names. One of the guys was named Humbug, the other was named T-Baby, and then Hugglebuck.
They call them.
And Jimmy Hudson, and they made me an offer that I really couldn't refuse. And that was they offered me membership in one of the most prestigious organizations that you could think of at Merrill High School, and that was membership in an organization called the Ravine Rangers. So if you attended Merrill at some point and you were a male member, you known as Ravine Rangers, well, that was a shortcut that we used to
take to get to school.
Yeah, what it is, it's a pipe that runs over the ravine. Instead of walking all the way around the street, we just cut through the ravine, and then that's where we hung out a lot in the summer, fishing and so forth and so on. But it's something that you can mention the Ravine Rangers and it started to turn heads, I'm telling you.